am Sybil, and if it's your first time joining us here on 10,000 Voices, we talk about the entrepreneurial journey for women, people of color, and the new and diverse. Today, my guest is the phenomenal Michelle Holmes. She is a Mississippi native, now residing in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is why we are on location in my house. She coaches women who are entrepreneurial and ready to pivot and become the CEO of their lives. Her mission, and I am so glad to talk about this, is to turn at least 10 women into millionaires. When Michelle is not being a phenomenal business owner, she is now recently a regional representative for No. We're going to talk about the No community. She is a mom of 5 and a loving wife. Michelle, what are you doing with me today then?
I know. I don't take this lightly, just to sit and talk about what's important to us as women, us as women of color, and how we're making an impact. That honestly, and I get to do it in your space at location. So that's amazing.
That is amazing. And for the record, Michelle and I met accidentally, which I fully support. We both signed up for a networking event that really wasn't the networking event. And I remember locking eyes with her and saying, well, at least she's got a good spirit. I guess I'll go say hi.
That's about how the night went. We were both thinking, why did I sign up for this? This is not what I was expecting.
But I believe in divine connection, and nothing happens accidentally. And since then, we've been fast friends.
Very fast friends.
I fully support that. So let's jump in. Talk to me about your transition out of corporate and how long you've been an entrepreneur.
Oh gosh, look, this is the journey that every woman dreams about, thinks about, and say, I can be an entrepreneur of my life. And to be honest, it was a very hard transition for me. I was in corporate America as an executive woman for over 10 years and just kind of working in corporate America for 19 years. And so for me, it was actually by force to become an entrepreneur. I wasn't actually looking to become an entrepreneur. I actually left my corporate role thinking, you know what, I'm going to take a mental break and I'm going to jump back into this thing full force and find another executive role. And it's right after COVID, so everyone's hiring, but every call was, can you relocate your family? And I have 5 kids, and my 5 kids said, honestly, what broke my heart was one of my kids came in and said, there is no point of making friends because I'm just going to move anyway. And so at that moment, I said, I can't move my family again. I refuse. And I couldn't get hired making coffee or cleaning houses, just to be honest, right? And so I said, I have so many gifts, so many talents. I've helped companies, I've looked at their products, increased the satisfaction for their products, increased return and repeat customers by improving the quality, and I reduced millions in departments. If I can do this for departments, why can't I do it for myself? And so that actually started my entrepreneurial journey. Like I decided if I can help companies reduce millions in a year, and why can't I do it for myself?
Right.
So I started this journey. I've been on this journey. I really call it a journey because as an entrepreneur, what you realize is you're not corporate America, right? And you don't have all the resources, you don't have all the tools, so you do what you can with what you got. And so I've been doing this now since November, full force. At first, I was kind of playing with it a little bit from like May of last year. I was like, okay, I think I'm going to start the business. And then I said, okay, full force. I was full force, nonstop, doing my marketing, doing my networking, getting out there, creating the visibility that I needed. It was actually October, nonstop. So it's been a few months now.
In a few months. So we started our businesses around the same time as well. My launch date was 10/10, which was also my birthday. And I said, okay, it's now or never. I had that awareness of I can't go back to when I left. And there had to be a reason that I was brought to this moment. So you transition out of corporate America. The kids said, thank you, but no thank you for moving. Totally get it. But then you and your husband go and launch a church.
Oh, gosh. So the church was launched while I was actually working my corporate job. So we moved to Raleigh. So it's crazy. The reason my kids didn't want to move again is actually because we moved from Austin, Texas.
Right.
And before we lived in Austin, Texas, we were in Louisville, Kentucky. And so my kids, just through all the transitions, they're like, no, we've done it. We've seen the world. I don't need to experience that again. But through all of this, so my husband, the reason we moved to North Carolina was from our corporate job. So his thing, we were commissioned from our pastors to start our church. And his whole thing when we got here was to focus on home and focus on getting the ministry launched and planted. And I was like, sure, I think it's the prime time for you to do it. You're at home anyway. You can focus on it. You can go into ministry full time. I'm doing what I need to do at work. I'm making it happen. And I left my corporate job, but we still planted a church. And it's just been, to be honest, it's been amazing, the journey of being an entrepreneur and being a church planter all at the same time. So this is not spiritual in any way, but just thinking about the faith that's needed for entrepreneurs to even launch out in the first place.
Yeah.
And not only am I doing this in my profession, but now I'm also doing it in my spiritual life.
Yes.
Where I'm launching out in the deep in both. Yes. So it is very interesting to be a church planter during COVID.
During COVID.
What were we thinking? And it sometimes it's not what you think, it's just what you know.
Right.
You got to just operate on what you know.
What do you know?
You know, when you hear, I think this is even for being an entrepreneur. One of the things that is a gut sometimes, right? You get a gut when you need to pivot. You're like, I need to do something different. So you just operate off that intuition and saying, I know that I know this. I don't know what it's going to look like. I may not even know how to completely get there, but let me just take steps, and those steps will make something. And it's not always just throwing something on the wall either, right?
Right.
But just doing what you know how to do and do that part extremely well.
And do it well. And that's one of the reasons I pivoted in my business again really fast though. So I said, oh, these things don't align with who I am anyway, so why am I working on this? If it takes too much energy, then it's probably not the thing you're supposed to be focusing on.
Let's not even talk about that. Because my first client that I got for my business, they wanted me to do sales. And let me tell you, you learn so much about yourself being an entrepreneur. You learn what you can do very well, what you may do, but you don't do well. And so my first client was someone who wanted me to be kind of like sales. And I realized I'm a nurturer. Like, that's just who I am. I can nurture a relationship. I'm not going to do your cold calling for you. That's just not who I am. And so I had to be okay with stepping back from that contract and saying, this is just not me. And so when you talk about pivoting really quick, and that's one of the things that I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, it hurts because we also feel like, wait, I just told people I'm doing this. And it's kind of like you're a little prideful a little bit, right? Because now you're saying you need to make this transition. So then, will people think I know what I'm doing?
Right.
So to be honest, yeah, I do. I know what I want to do, and I know what I do very well. That's why I'm pivoting, right?
Correct.
So,
right. And it's the catch-22 of visibility. You make a mistake in corporate, it can get buried under 100 emails. You make a mistake as an entrepreneur, and everybody's finger pointing.
yeah.
Oh, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? I wouldn't have done it that way. Well, you don't know because you didn't take this step towards living your truth. I did.
That's the thing. People want you to live their truth.
Yep.
Although you're walking out your truth.
Yep.
So you want me to help your dreams. You want me to make sure that I can see what it is that you're casting, right? But then when it's time for me as an entrepreneur to step out, and I think sometimes people have a genuine sincere, like they're genuinely sincere about your well-being of, are you going to be able to survive? Because let's be honest, this entrepreneur journey is not for the faint of heart, right?
I feel like I'm on the game of Survivor. I don't know about you, but I'm just waiting for, what's his name, to pop out with the little flag and tell me I won.
You know, it's crazy because one of the things that people say is just go start your LLC.
Yes.
Well, they don't tell you about the marketing spend. They don't tell you about, all the other things that go into having a business. And it's not just having an LLC and going to the state and signing papers. Like, that's not running a business. Maybe if it's a lifestyle business, but when you're really thinking about a business that you are trying to set a foundation for, that ultimately one day you want to grow this business so you can have an exit strategy.
Correct.
That's different. And I didn't have people in my family that created businesses, so it was truly it's been a journey trying to figure it out. And you're reading 5 books at one time.
Same. And I think that's also why I get really frustrated when people start quoting the first year business success rate. I said over 4 million LLCs are filed every year. You can't tell me 4 million people intentionally started a business. That's not what you're going to, I don't believe.
Yeah.
What you can tell me is 4 million people spent a couple $100 and did the thing for various reasons. So I think if we boil it down to true success rate, I think the year one rates are actually higher than what people report, but people report out of fear, not out of facts a lot of times.
Or even people realize it's a lot of hard work, right? And so people feel like sometimes, and I'll be very honest, I've worked extremely hard. I've worked in corporate America. I'm sure you can relate to this. There are so many times that you burn the midnight oil. You probably spend 16-hour work days.
Yeah.
And what I hear so many times is people like, if I can do this for myself, if I can work 16 hours for someone else, I can work 16 hours for myself. Well, the 16 hours is not the same, right? Because I'm, as a person in leadership, I had a team.
Yeah. Right.
And so what I was doing those 16 hours was really just making sure my team had the resources, removing bottlenecks, right? Being in meetings all day, right? That's different from actually being hands-on in your own business, working the business,
iterating.
Oh my God, it's so different. And I think so many times I've heard people in their first year saying, as they get ready to leave corporate America, if I, like I said, right, if I can do this for somebody else, surely I can do it for myself. But I don't think they truly understand the magnitude of what's needed. Yeah. And having your own business, you have to be a creator. You have to have a vision. You have to be able to see beyond just right now. Yes. Or you will not be able to get past your plan, because you'll say, why am I doing this? And if your why is not greater, then you're going to go back.
Oh my goodness. I was reading a book. It's not Think and Grow Rich, it's the other one. I think The Rules of Success. And that's literally what the author said. They said, if your why is not greater than money, then your business will fail, because that's the thing that keeps the business going, not the funding. Yeah, you need to make money, yes, but that vision has to be so powerful that you can't help but you have to keep stride. You have to keep stride. Okay, I thought it was just me.
No, it is not.
So when we celebrate our year ones together, because neither one of us are shutting down shop, we are building momentum even now. We're going to celebrate our year one together with all of the lessons learned.
I'm literally journaling the entire journey, and there's so many days that, and I'm sure you're like this because you're a journal.
Yes.
You are taking notes. Yes. That I go back and I'm having these conversations with myself, and at the end of the night, I'm just like, I just wish I would have knew the journey ahead of time. Yeah. And I wish I would have prepared a little differently. And I know that's something that you do differently, or that you work with women.
Yes.
Is, being in corporate America, how can you set yourself up for success to transition? Yes. Because I didn't set myself up for transition. I just quit my corporate job and just, thinking I would be able to land somewhere else, because I've always been great, right? I've always had a job. I never experienced a layoff. Yeah. In 19 years, I've never experienced a layoff. I've never been fired. So to say I wouldn't be able to land.
Yeah. That was abstract. I think that's why I started specifically coaching to the transition, is because not that my transition was perfect, but I had a really good transition that a lot of people didn't have because I had been laid off before. I had been out of work before. And so I had those lessons learned already in my pocket that if it ever happened again, not that I thought I was going to start a business, but if this thing happens again, I know exactly what I need to do. I had also been an entrepreneur before. So I already knew my temperament for risk, for what I was and was not going to, like, there were things about my past that really made this an easy, people like, was it hard? No, it actually was quite easy.
Wow.
Because I had already did the hard stuff in my previous life. And so that's why I talk so intentionally about the transition is times like this.
I will say, I wish, it's funny, I would say, hearing you and how you coach people about the transition, there was a moment and the reason I started so late, with my own business is because honestly, it wasn't even about the business aspect. It was about dealing with my mind.
Yes.
And understanding who I was and understanding, because you've already went through these things throughout transitions. And one of the things I will also say as an entrepreneur is people don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. You look for validation.
Yeah.
Because you have to have validation that you have the right product, right? Or the right service for the people that you're looking for. Yeah. And so now I need someone to validate that. So now I'm questioning my abilities, because if I'm not getting clients, I'm not getting, customers, I then question, am I good enough?
Am I good enough?
Right. And so in corporate America, we have all these meetings, right? You have all these one-on-ones, so you're getting validation all the time. You're doing great at your job, or maybe, there's an improvement, but now as an entrepreneur, you're trying to get this validation while you're not making money, right? And so I just think there's something that needs to be talked about a little more, like the validation through your entrepreneurship, like being an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Because it's real.
And that's why I was always a journaler, but that's why I had to start intentionally journaling twice a day, because my morning journal is I call it, oh gosh, okay, right? I'm rushing.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I validate every single decision I made because it was the best next right decision that I knew to make. That is my evening journal. Like, Sybil, you did the best with the information you had. You did great decisions. Here are decisions you never need to make again. And that is how my nighttime journal goes, because I could not carry that foolishness to the next day.
Can we talk about that a little bit?
Sure.
On what you said. And this is making the decision with the information that you had.
Yes.
I think as entrepreneurs, we're so hard. And let me not say entrepreneurs. Let me say women of color
in general. Go ahead. Yeah.
Women of color, when it relates to making decisions and with the information that we have, we're so hard on ourselves. Yeah. And so then we stay in a spot too long mentally. And it's all because I have said this so many times, even just through my career, and I'm having this conversation with you now, I'm like, I wish I would have had, or I wish I would have knew, right? But with the information that I had based on experience, I made the best decision for me. Because when I left corporate America, I left because for me. I left knowing that this is what I needed in the moment. Based on all the information I had, it was the right decision. And I feel like as entrepreneurs, if we can think that way a lot sooner, and be okay with it, like truly be okay with it, it'll help you throughout your journey. It'll help you navigate. I'm not saying everything will be perfect, but it definitely helps you navigate and have a better perspective just through the journey.
Yes, absolutely. And then when in doubt, seek a Sybil, because that's literally the question I ask all of my clients. I said, how do you manage your negative emotions? That is on my list of questions, because we're so afraid we're afraid of being the angry Black woman. We're afraid of fear. We're afraid of showing vulnerability. And so that is so how are you gonna handle bad days?
Yeah, I mean,
we don't talk about it.
As women of color, as an executive, you think about it, right? Because you're trying to figure it out because you know going to work every day will not be easy, right? Let's just be honest. Being at the table, being in corporate America, being sometimes the only, right?
Yeah.
You already know you're going to deal with a lot of negative moments, negative days.
Yeah.
So you're already thinking about it in corporate America, but when it comes to doing it in your own space, I don't think it's something that we truly think about.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing. I want to transition just a little bit. Talk to me about, so mom of 5. I want to celebrate because I think you did the thing that a lot of people say they would do, but you actually did it. And I joke, not jokingly, I pray nothing ever happens to my sister and my brother-in-law, but I tell people I will be a mom of 4 tomorrow if something happens to my sister and brother-in-law. But that actually happened for you, and you rallied the troops and got some more kids.
Yeah, let me tell you, my house is crazy, and I'm just gonna be honest. Like, this is just a transparent, just a vulnerable moment right now. I have 4 boys.
Yes.
And all of my boys are at least 5'10" and taller.
Yes.
And they're all pretty big boys, right? And so I have a daughter, she's 15, and so she's kind of in the middle. We call her the den mother. But my boys, 2 are my nephews, and they sometimes don't know their strength, and so I have a hole in my wall right now. Yeah. So that's just being honest, right? Like, we all think that everything is great, right? As we're building businesses, there's a moment that I'm just gonna say, you don't know what you don't know, and it's that kids are gonna be kids. Well, saying all that to say, I have 5 amazing kids. 2 are my nephews, and they're 17 and 21. And my sister passed away in 2014, and her kids, her boys, I don't know if they are special or if I'm special because they wanted to live with me. Some people say I should know that I'm a good person, but it's either her kids are very good people because they wanted to take a risk and live with their crazy aunt. And so I'm blessed to really just walk out their life with them. Yeah. And see them grow up. And every day I think about it, like, my sister would be so proud if she saw her boys right now. Yeah. So yeah, it's a crazy house.
And that's okay too. It is the house that you're supposed to be in, a hole in the wall.
I'm gonna get it fixed though.
You're gonna get it. Once they all move out, and then I'm gonna fix the wall.
My husband's calling someone now. You know, and let me just say this: as a woman, a woman that has been really serious about things, before, as an executive woman, that would have freaked me out when I would walk into my house.
Yeah.
But being an entrepreneur, I'm just gonna be very honest. I have been able to accept things and laugh a little more.
Yes.
And it's crazy because I'm not making what I was making as an executive woman, right? And so you think
Not yet.
Not yet. Not yet.
Not yet.
But pretty close though.
That's right.
Hey, I'm pretty close. Look, but I will say it's those little things that you don't even take, and I think it's stopping and being able to breathe. Yeah. And so I laugh a lot with my kids now. I laugh more than I've ever laughed. And I really enjoy that.
That's my word. Somebody said, why did you become an entrepreneur? I said, I was suffocating. I could not breathe. I could not breathe. Breathing became hard, and to be able to take a breath really was, there's no medication for that. There's no quick fix pill to feel like breathing differently, to be able to laugh, because now you have, I say now I have space to laugh that I didn't originally have. And on the days where the dishes might not be done or the laundry's not folded, I'm no longer focused on those things because I can breathe a little and know that it's okay, nobody else can see it. They only see this part.
And honestly, people don't care.
And people don't. That's also what I'm learning. Even big media people whose presence are really, really visible, if you give it 6 months, even their oopsie daisies have cycled through.
Yeah.
And there's a new thing to talk about. So I really could say this whole first year is, I'm gonna tell it in my memoirs, this first year was amazing for me, for business. That's gonna be my story.
And it's true though.
And it is the truth.
I feel the same way. It's my truth because I'm learning. I literally was just thinking about this yesterday, just being able to be content with small wins.
Yeah.
And
But it's not even small though.
it's not small, but I think it is small. And the reason I say that is because there are so many times where we have this big dream. Right?
Yeah.
And we can see where we want to go.
Yeah.
And so we don't actually take the moment to truly celebrate those wins.
Yes.
And although they may seem small, they're big, but it's not the final
It's
goal.
not the final goal.
So we don't enjoy it. And so I am just learning to be content with all the small wins. Like one of my kids just went to college, just finished his second semester of college. And he's now trying to become a YouTuber. So, that's a very interesting journey. And then I have 3 that's still in high school. So,
which is a really hard job. I think a lot of these kids think being a YouTuber and a TikToker and all of that. When I talk to some like known social media influencers and they talk about, I mean, I'm fatigued after one of these and we only go talk for an hour, but they literally record the equivalent of a workday. They're recording 10, 11, 12 hours nonstop.
And then the amount of editing the content.
And the editing.
Yeah,
it's a full-time job that I don't think a lot of people, I respect the influencers. I was like, wow, if you can live your life 24/7 on a camera like Truman Show, go for it.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. Whatever you define as work. Whatever you define as work. My new word for work is joy. I'm like, yeah, we're going to joy today. Yeah, I'm trying to fool. I'm doing all the mind games.
That is definitely a lot.
I'm doing all the mind games. I'm like, where are you headed? I'm heading to joy.
How's it working so far?
Actually, it's working extremely well because even when I have to trudge through I-40, I say, but my destination is joy. And I actually do love the work that I'm doing when I get there. So that commute feels like nothing because I'm looking forward to doing the thing that I want to do.
I like it.
So yeah, every day I get to go to joy.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about what your vision is for your company. So I know, and we're going to talk about the vision for your company to empower at least 10 women to become millionaires. Tell me about that vision, how it came, and what you're doing.
Yeah, so it sounds so small, right? 10 women. And so 10 women is actually, that's my goal just to impact this year.
Okay.
Like in my first year, I want to work with 10 women to help them become millionaires or pivot where they're making more. And so how did that come about? So I've been around several tables and these tables are generally led by men. And I felt that if I can help men that don't really care for me being around their table, why not help people that look like me? Why not help people that have worked and will continue to work and want to make an impact? Want to impact their community in a crazy way, want to employ people and pay them a good salary. And so I really started thinking about that. And I said, you know what, if I can do this for companies, why not do it for women that needs to pivot, that's looking to pivot, or maybe they don't know how, they don't know how to ask for help. One of the other things, the reason this means so much to me is there are moments where I needed help and I didn't know how to ask.
Yes.
And it wasn't that I was scared to ask, I also didn't know what question I needed.
I didn't have the right words.
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And so now kind of stepping back and transitioning from to help small businesses, or honestly, what I'm learning is helping those luxury businesses that says, you know what, I started this as a luxury business, not even a luxury, lifestyle business. They started as a lifestyle business because they just wanted to be able to maintain their lifestyle. And then they started listening and hearing some conversations about, you know what, you want to one day hire somebody. You want to grow your business, you want to scale it. And so then I realized people don't have the processes that they need. And so that's where I come in, because I truly love the whole people, the process, and the passion for the company, the passion for the product. So I understand those elements to the point where now I'm like, okay, I can take all of these things and I can actually do it and enjoy it.
Things you're good at.
Yes, like these are things that I can just do in my sleep.
Exactly.
I can do it. I don't have to think extremely hard. So I said, okay, I want to help these women. I want to help them become millionaires. And if they're already millionaires, because there are several women I work with that are already millionaires, well, that's great. They do want to have a larger impact.
Yeah.
And so that's my goal. I want to help them. And the crazy thing, I was talking to a banker here in the area, and she said that, you know, we were looking at some numbers, and there's about 300 companies here in North Carolina that are women-led companies. And they're mid-sized companies. So they are mid-sized, and this market means they're 20 million or more. But those numbers are not real numbers, because although they are said to be led by women, they're not. And maybe a husband who put his wife as the minority. And so that really means that I have a goal that 300 numbers are true 300 numbers, that we can impact as Florida Thriving Solutions, we can impact women and help North Carolina create the community for millionaire mid-market companies. Like I believe we can do that.
I believe we can, and that's exactly what we're doing, just differently.
Yeah.
I think that's the other thing people misconstrued, is this idea of competition. And even when we met, she said, "Oh, you're a coach." Okay, yep, me too. You coach women? Yep, me too. And yet our approach, our style, and our purpose are totally different. And I'm feeding you clients, and you're like, "Hey, you might want to talk to this person over here," because we're hitting women in two different stages, but for two very specific reasons.
I think that's one of the things that I love about just knowing you, and you're, I feel like, my accountability bestie friend, right? Like you're gonna hold me accountable, but you're also saying, hey, we're not competing here. I'm supporting you, you support me. At the end of the day, I'm my biggest competitor.
That's right.
Right? Like no matter who else is out there in the market, right? One of the things that they always ask you to know is, who is your competitors? Like all those other companies, yeah, they're competing, but at the end of the day, I'm my competitor. I have to compete against myself every morning to get up and to keep going, right? So I think that's something that I really enjoy. I really enjoy being able to work with women that support each other. Like makes me happy.
Thanks for calling me your accountability pal. Oh my gosh. Because, and this is something else we talked about, I said I could not find a room of women like me who got it, who want to do the things. And I felt even that had to change. And and I don't know if this is true of you, I had like a separation anxiety from the people I knew and the people who I knew I needed to know. And then you invited me to know, so let's talk about know. But that literally, I remember going to the meeting with you, and for the first time in a very long time, I actually felt like, oh good, my show up can be me and not the corporate HR. Did I learn this other person's brand guide? Am I saying the right words? Me, I was like, oh good, I can again breathe.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I use that word breathe a lot.
I do.
And I don't think we really realize how just being able to breathe freely and not holding our breath to walk into a room.
Bracing for impact.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so
no.
yes, no women. So no women. I want to say how I got started with no women. I was kind of in my corporate role, and I was part of their first launch here in North Carolina. So No is a media company. So it's a media company that the whole goal around it is to create visibility for women, for ambitious women. And so that's so you can be seen, you can be heard, and they create the connections that you need. And so during this time, I had met some amazing women And one of the women, she just asked me what I needed, and I was just saying, I need a community of people. And so she said, good, I something, I'm thinking about this thing, and I was getting ready to make the transition. Like I had been thinking, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But she nominated me to be a woman to know in North Carolina. So I was a part of this publication, and I was like, I don't even really know what this means, to be honest. Like that was my first time ever being in anything big like that, like in a book that was this hardcover book. And I'm just like, with all these amazing women doing amazing things, and you go to this event and you're just like, wait,
Where were you?
they supporting each other. They're clapping it up because they're reading off someone else's information. And I was just blown away, to be honest, like just blown away from the support of these women. So I was in that publication, and then later on, I was like, oh, and they have a community too. Oh, they didn't tell me this when I was just going to get my pictures taken. And then they start telling me, this community, it's not just a publishing company, but it is. It's more. Like you can have digital publication. You can, they want to make sure that you're seen and you're heard. That if you have a heart to give back, you can. And these are ambitious women, like women that want to do great things in their community. They want to see other women doing great things. And I'm not just talking about entrepreneurs that's like myself in the first year, but these are women that have been entrepreneurs for years, and they have a thought that they want to help women get there faster. Like that's in itself, knowing what I know now, and to hear another woman say, I know what it's like to start your journey. I know what it's like to need connections, to need visibility, and I want to help you get there faster.
Sign me up.
Sign me up. And so the opportunity, I was already part of this group, right? This community of women. And there was an opportunity where Sarah, the CEO of No, and her vision just resonated with me so much, where I'm already creating operations and efficiency and thinking about the experience for customers, where she provides this visibility vision. And so I really started thinking about one of the things that I'm a connector by nature. I love connecting people. I love thinking about the resources and making sure you have what you need. And so her vision, I was like, oh, and I don't have to create this, right? Oh my gosh. So this opportunity came up for the territory owner here in this triangle. And so I said, why not? Like I can help women connect to the right women. I get to create the rooms and create events that help create visibility. When I hear what you need, I'm not just holding it to myself, so that when I go talk to another woman and she said, I'm looking to like grow my business, and I'm now going to need maybe HR, or I'm going to need a diversity and someone to think about diversity. I can say, you know what? I know a perfect person for that, right? So I'm in these rooms and thinking about, can I connect with the next person? So No has been and is, it's like one of the things that I'm really loving as we kind of get it literally jumped off in lunch. So I'm excited.
I'm excited too, because I just soft launched the C-suite, which is not a no. And listening to hear you talk about No, to do things faster. The mission of C-suite is to do business well, because I said so often we can't just leave corporate yet, but if you can be well while you are holding on, then that's the room you need to be in, and that's the room I wish I had when I was holding on. I might have been able to transition even more intentionally, or have even more supports set up, or maybe prevented the whole thing altogether.
Let's just be honest. That's a whole conversation, girl. I don't know if we have time to talk about that. That is true. Like if you would have had the resources, the tools, and the people that could give you advice that may have already been there, what did they do?
Correct.
Yes, that I understand.
Correct. And then when I started C-suite, all of a sudden I'm meeting these amazing C-suite women like yourself who have exited corporate, and they're like, I mentor here and there, or I'll have a conversation, but nobody wants to listen. I'm like, listen, because the women I'm now coaching and serving need this part, and I don't have it, but you do. So I call myself a human resource. I'm not a connector. I'm a human resource. I'm gonna connect you to the resources, and if I don't have it, I know somebody who does. And I think that's just what I went through because this is how I'm supposed to serve. That's how I convinced myself of this whole process.
I don't think there was much convincing needed.
See, I'm pretty committed to the I'm going to help as long as people want my help. So yeah, it's good. Transitioning only slightly, books that you recommend, because if I have done nothing else during the journey, you talk about reading 5 books a day. Literally the other day, and then I said, Sybil, stop. I had the audiobook in my ear while I'm reading a different book on my desk because I wanted the information really fast. And I said, now this is an efficiency moment because I had that proposal to get ready. So I had the audio thing in my ear on how to write the proposal, and then I'm reading the book, and then I have my webpage up.
That's a lot. That's a lot. Oh, that's a lot. I would say, oh girl, I don't even know how you were able to navigate.
It was on time. The proposal was on time.
Girl. I would say right now, one of the books that I'm reading is actually Michelle Obama's book, The Light We Carry. Yes, I'm reading that right now. I would say I feel like it's important to. The reason I would say to read this book is really because she's so transparent.
Yes.
And I think there are moments that as people that are striving, that as ambitious women, we don't think that other people are struggling through things.
Yeah.
And so I personally feel like as you're going through this journey, it also helps bring perspective.
Yeah.
And so I would say that's one of them. Just from a more yeah. There are so many more that I'm currently reading. I'm actually reading, not just coaching, I consult, right?
Right.
And so one of the books that I'm reading as well is consulting. It's a consulting book, how to be a better consultant. And can't think of anything right now. Sheesh, and I had it on top of my tongue. I'll come back. Okay. But it's definitely consulting. I feel like anything that you're doing, whatever your skill, if you're a coach, if you are a consultant, if you have a product or service, there are books that you should just pick up just to see how can you do it better. Self-help books, I think we all are just reading. I'm reading a psychology book actually around body language. And, I think there are things that you can just pick out generally. Yeah. But really, as someone that you have to be the face of your company, you have to be the marketing of your company. You're now in marketing and sales meetings. So, things that you wouldn't think about that now I'm thinking about the whole psychology in the mind. So, and of course, my Bible.
That's right.
I am a pastor, so I will say I found a lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom on even how to run my business. I actually found it in the Bible. Proverbs. Yeah, like it is the things that you find. I was reading a scripture one day and just about paying people fairly. There's scriptures in the Bible just talking about that, right? Yes, and so it's just like I also use my Bible a lot, not just for the word, and I really use it to meditate. Like I meditate on the scriptures, so to clear my mind. I think we all need that. So
yes. And so many of the self-help books, whether or not they wanted to admit it, have origins from biblical texts anyway.
Yeah.
And they just reworded it for mainstream media. But I was like, oh, look, that's Mark 6:23, or that's Psalm 20. It's the same thing. It says, asking you shall be given, write the vision and make it plain. Habakkuk said that, but hey, if you need to go read so-and-so, this author came before this author, and this is how they interpreted it. Yes, I told one of my other girlfriends, I said, this is, as much as it's been a journey to self, it's also been a spiritual journey for me. And I didn't realize how much of a spiritual journey entrepreneurship was going to be. That I was not prepared for.
It's funny you say that. The whole awareness of who you are and who you're not I was not expecting it, to be honest. But I honestly feel that everyone should maybe try to create something, even if it's a lifestyle business, just so you can see who you are. Because I will say one of the things that corporate America does is you work in a specialized box.
Yeah, you're here. They teach you, heard somebody say, they teach you how to be a really good tree. That's what you learned how to do. You learned how to be a really good tree.
Yeah. And so every other gift that you have, you put it on a shelf and you don't use it. And so then people start labeling you as this. And then when you try to do anything different, it's kind of like, oh, I didn't know you could do that. Well, I didn't either. Or I did, and I didn't realize that I could do it that well because I never had to.
Right. Or I forgot I knew how to do it until you brought this thing up, and then, oh, sure, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we are all made to create anyway, right? The Bible says we are all imbued with gifts that are supposed to be used in service, and not everybody is going to be famous, but everybody can do something well. You can do that one thing well. I think Martin Luther King said that, but then again, that's also in the Bible. Any advice then for our viewers on what their next best step might be if they are considering this entrepreneurial journey?
Yeah, I think, honestly, my advice would be to create a network of women that support it. Or honestly, not even just a network of women, maybe even allies, having men that can support you and your vision. And so I think before stepping out, it's just really creating a support group. Yeah. So maybe it's not a true group. Maybe it could be a mentor or a coach. Making sure you have someone that you can bounce ideas off that's not biased. Yeah. I think that would be, if you don't have a coach, get one. Not just because I'm a coach, because you may not need me. But having a coach is critical if you're looking to make a major transition, because honestly, making a transition like that is not like, it's almost like buying a house. Like I'm serious, because you know what? You're using your personal credit. That's like, this is the stuff people don't tell you. Like business credit is great, but at the end of the day, they still looking at your personal credit too. You can't open certain business accounts if you have personal credit. Okay. I'm sorry. Look, I will tell you, definitely have someone that's knowledgeable, especially if you're making transitions. Understand what kind of transition you're looking for, and then find the right person that can help you in that type of transition.
Done it before.
Yes.
Don't go to the person who never took a risk, who never transitioned, who sat still for 30 years in the same job. Not that that's a bad thing, but that's not the person to get advice from.
They won't understand.
They won't understand.
And I think there's a lot of people that have certifications. Yeah. But they have no experience. Woo. And so really, like I said, make sure you know what you need and make sure that person has experienced it. They experienced it and they have the know-how to help you get through it. Because I'm learning that more and more being in this, being a consultant as well as a coach, that there are so many people that have these certifications and have book knowledge, but if you ask them,
application,
they cannot provide that. So advice, get a coach, get some kind of mentor. Secondly, really just spend time with yourself. And, before you really get on, start this entrepreneurial journey, I would say spend time with yourself, because you're going to be working with yourself a lot. And just knowing who you are, what makes you tick, what makes you happy, because at the end of the day, as you're building out this company, possibly that you're going to be going to or creating, you got to know who you are at the core. Yes. Because also that's your vision, right? Your whole vision and mission of why you do what you do, and the core values of the company is really the person.
That is true. It is an extension of the person. So anytime people talk about company values, I'm like, I just look at who's in charge. Yeah. And that tells me all I need to know. Yeah. Seriously. Yeah. It's really that easy. as we end, one question that I like to ask everybody is, what does living an abundant life mean for you?
Well, for me, honestly, I think about wholeness. And so for me, that means really taking and being okay in every area of my life. And so for me, I feel like I can have it all.
Yes.
And what that actually means for me is having enough with an overflow that can help others. And so my having it all may be different from yours.
Yeah.
You may say, hey, I don't need all of it. And I may say, well, I have kids, so my house has to be a little different than yours, it needs to accommodate 7 people, right?
And holes in the wall.
So I gotta be able to pay for that, right? We need 8 gallons of milk a week, right? So I say that to say there are moments where I've heard it. I hear people asking this question, and so I tie this to abundance: is I need enough, but not enough, just enough for me. I need enough for those around me.
Yeah.
And that's me, and be able to be content and understanding that it's not just tied to money. Because if life was just money, then we would never be happy. So it's just having the abundance and living in abundance is being able to fulfill life.
Yeah.
With having all the needs, all the resources, and also being able to be a resource to everyone else.
I love that. And normally I don't ask a tail question, but you said something that I think so many of us Southern Christian women need to hear is it's not about the love of money. It's about understanding how to use money as a tool because you have a greater calling to serve.
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing.
It's not.
When you begin praying for increase or praying for wealth and people think, oh my God, you want possessions. And I said, no, God told me I get to live abundantly.
Yeah, he said he owned all the cattle on the hill. I'm just saying, he owns all of it. And I think, I'm going to say this from my church perspective, right?
Yeah.
Because my church, it's not my church, it's God's
church.
And I'm just managing it, right? We're just the managers of it. And, as a nonprofit, right, we are always looking and we're always trying to impact the community.
Yeah.
Well, it takes resources. And so if I'm someone who says, I never need money, but we also, are giving to a nonprofit, to a church that says they want to help to provide for the community. If no one has money, how are we going to provide for the community, right? And so I had to also think about that. Like you just need people who are willing to give, but also have the means to give.
Yeah.
And we don't want to be the nonprofit that's always asking for money because no one has it. You see it all the time, right? You have this heart to serve, and that's why you generally have a nonprofit because you're not doing it. But somebody has to feed the nonprofit, right?
And you need to be fed, otherwise you will not be able to lead.
Exactly.
Okay, just
So it's a fun. I do think it's just the understanding. Yeah. And I would say one of the things, if I can go back just really quick, about one of the question, what advice would I give, is to truly understand what are the resources you need, and as it relates to finances, like what do you need right now? Know what you need, what you're spending. Like if you're getting ready to make a transition, how much money do you really need? Because that's important, because you don't want to lose your house, you don't want to lose your car, you don't want your family living in a shoebox, right? So just kind of understanding what you need to be successful, because one of the things is money is important, but not just money, it's all resources, and understanding what resources you need to be great as an entrepreneur.
And how to get those resources if you don't.
Yes, because they're out there.
They are out there. We do not serve a God of lack. You told me that too.
Yes, we do not.
We do not serve a God of lack.
So if you're lacking in any area, that I would say ask God for wisdom,
for provision.
Yes, because He will provide. Yes.
This has been amazing.
Yes.
Oh my God.
It has been great.
Y'all, we're going to be back in October celebrating our 1 year, first year, because we're doing all the things. How can our viewers learn more about your organization?
Yeah, I would say you can always reach out on social media. I can be found on LinkedIn. Michelle Holmes on LinkedIn. You can find me on social media for Facebook and Instagram. And I am Lady Michelle Holmes as it relates to business, because I could just use Miss Michelle Holmes because someone was already Miss. So I just said lady because I'm from the South, and
Lady.
yes. So you can find me Lady Michelle Holmes, and that's Michelle with 2 L's because that sounds like one. And my website for my business is flourishandthriving.solutions if you're looking to take your business to the next level, because I know we have some amazing women that's ready. So that's how you can reach out.
That is perfect. And what are you gonna do about that hole in the wall? Is it just, you just put artwork over it, or like, what do we do with that?
Yeah, so